November 26, 2013, Gulf County Board of County Commissioners now in session.
Bow our heads by prayer. Dear gracious Father God, we come before you today. We ask that you just give us the strength to take care of the county business. Father God, I ask that you just watch over everybody during our holidays, Father. Father God, we just ask that you just look within our heart and give us the strength to do what's right. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Place flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'd like to thank everybody for coming out to our county commission meeting today. We're going to get started. We have anyone from the audience concerning the consent agenda? Do we have anyone from the audience concerning the consent agenda? There's no one from the audience. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion by Mr. Yeager. Can I get a second?
Second.
I got a second by Ms. Bryant. Do I have any opposed? No opposed. Motion carries 5-0. Public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was an amended agenda that went out to you all late last week. We had scheduled a planning board meeting for this yesterday morning at 8:45. Try to keep on the schedule now that we have a new planning board member and we're able to establish a quorum. On the second page of the amended agenda, you'll see that yesterday morning several items were to be accomplished. The first was the approval of the minutes from their October meeting. The second that you have in front of you is a recommendation from the planner. Is with regards to a final plat approval for minor subdivision Rosemary Beach. Tyler W. Smith for parcel ID 06268-025R, as well as 06268-022R. It is in Section 7, Township 9, Range 11 of Gulf County. It's 2.22 acres. It's a 6-unit development with no road infrastructure. There was a final hearing yesterday with presentation by the applicant and a vote of 3-0 with one abstention from the PRB recommending your approval of the final plat for Rosemary Dunes subdivision. Before you do that, if you have any public comment as well.
Do I have any public comments? We have any public comments? There's no one from the public. Can I get a motion?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Mike Dan, got a second by Mr. Yeager. Do I have any opposed? No opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, while we're on the topic of the PDRB, the next meeting is December 9th at 8:45. In lieu of the holidays, usually it's at the end of the month on a Monday, but with that being Christmas week, they've moved it up. They've had legal advertisements go out in the paper, and then whatever recommendations or denials that come back the next day will be in front of you all on December 10th. In addition to those, there will be possibly some additional PDRB policy and procedures recommendations going forward into 2014. We discussed them briefly with the planner and the planning department yesterday, and we're going to continue to develop them and come back to you all with some recommendations for the planning board. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Jennifer? Mr. Brett? Mr. David?
No, sir.
Mr. Attorney?
No, sir.
Mr. Butler?
Just to advise the board, on the December 2nd, there'll be your local delegation meeting in this room from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. For any of us or any of the public wants to talk to Senator Mumford and Representative Beshears. That's all I have.
What date you said it was, Mr. Butler?
December 2.
December 2.
And the time?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
I think it's important, Don, to mention some of the things that are coming up. One of them is the community services tax that the governor's pushing to reduce, and saying that's going to reduce taxes for the citizen. In actuality, you know, that comes to the cities and counties. Now, cities get more than the counties do, but it'll be a cut of mandate of a cut of revenue for the counties and cities that you may have to make up in ad valorem. So it's not really a cut to the taxpayer. We need to mention that to our legislative delegation, that we didn't get a whole lot this past year. I think in the budget we got about 83,000, close to 83,000 on that tax, and the city got a lot more than that, I think. But at the end of the day, if the state decides to cut that community services tax, that's obviously going to still have an impact on the constituency, unless we find another source of revenue. So it's important that, that us be here also and make those points that we need some legislation to prevent that from happening.
Sheriff?
No, sir, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Mr.
We have,
Hold on for a minute. Yes.
we've got Mr. Tom Graney regarding District 3 stormwater runoff.
Okay.
Give you a second to get there, don't start the clock yet.
Hey, Tom, good morning to you.
Good morning. Tom Graney, 8513 Trade Winds Drive, St. Joe Beach. I want to bring to your attention, and I've got 6 minutes to do so. If you'd like it to be longer, I'll be glad to acquiesce. But I want to bring to your attention some very serious concerns in District 3 over stormwater runoff. And you started to address this issue, and their past issues need to be addressed and some issues need to be discussed. I want to do this in a non-adversarial manner and as much as we possibly can. Some of the things I'm going to say may create an adversarial manner. They're my observations, and they're the observations of District 3 people who talk to me. One of my hobbies is to be the district committee man for the Republican Party. And so a lot of people discuss these issues with me and bring them to my attention. That's a hobby, by the way. Let me first tell you how impressed I was by the handling of your residents' concerns from District 3 up in the Overstreet area. 2 weeks ago, a resident came in and talked to you about it. With Commissioner Bryan's recommendation and all of the members of the board going along with it, it was decided the smart thing to do is go find out and look at the problem. Okay, I was very impressed by the handling of this thing. I thought the staff and departments looked into the problem, reported their findings publicly. I was impressed by the County Public Works Department's results. And I got to tell you also, I must say it's typical of the kind of work I've become accustomed to from Mr. Danforth, Jake, and his staff, and the people who go out there and do the work. One of my other hobbies is a small business I run which deals with stormwater and wastewater treatment and the control of the runoff. I've never had anything but positive experiences with the Public Works Department, Mr. Danforth, and the crew. I thought their presentation was excellent, well-developed of the situation. Not a problem, reality. It laid out the reality. The simple reality is the more people who build in District 3, and I think you'd find out it's probably the most dense populated area in the county, other than the city itself, the city of St. Joe, particularly St. Joe Beach, where the problem is most prevalent, is the buildup there. And the simple facts of physics, which you saw, is the more impervious material that's poured on the ground, the less there is for the water to run off in, and the water to be absorbed and percolate into the soil. And as a result, you have huge runoff problems, flooding, standing water, et cetera, et cetera. You saw this as it was discussed. I think it's a huge problem in the future. If the county continues to grow and the county continues to add residents, which we all want to have happen, the county is divided into third and quarter acre lots in the popular area to develop for economic reasons. You simply can't take a quarter acre lot, put a 2,500 square foot house on it, another 5,000 square feet of driveway, and expect not to have huge water runoff problems as a result of it. That's a building department problem. That's a building code enforcement problem. As I drive around the county, I watch people who buy houses, and then they decide they would like to have a big stand for their boat. Maybe they want to park 3 cars when they have people coming, and they just start paving their yard, one after the other after the other. As I patrol the areas, worried about my other business, and look at these things, 9 out of 10 of them have no building permit displayed. 9 out of 10 of them have no building permit displayed. 9 out of 10 of them are pouring concrete into their yard. Everybody knows the building department says there's a percentage of impervious material you may put on your property. If you put more impervious material on it than they allow, you're going to have a runoff problem. The denser it gets, the greater. You can go down and look at Port St. Joe and see what happens when the area is densely populated. And St. Joe Beach is as densely populated as Port St. Joe. They have storm systems, they have storm drains, they have underground systems to move the water where it can be treated properly and not pollute the bay or the Gulf. Okay. I'm sorry about that diatribe. It just irritates me daily when I do my morning patrols. And I got to do another one this morning because the water is rising again. and I'm going to be out there looking around again to see what problems it's going to cause me and how much work I have to do to solve them. Okay. Again, I appreciate you looking at this thing. I don't, I like it. I do, however, question the use of $2,000 taxpayer money to raise one culvert, but you know, pals will be pals, guys. You got to get votes, and that's the way it works, okay? So you'll have to live with the judgment people make about that. However, now I'm going to go to the past. I and all residents I speak to are not happy, some would say outraged, over this board's handling of the Americus Avenue storm drain system, which was installed and built by this county at the cost of $1.2 million. This is a significant piece of infrastructure. It is to solve a huge problem that existed over 1.5 miles of Americus Road, Americus Avenue, which had cesspools constantly in position. It was running out and polluting the bay. If you know where Atlantic Avenue is, where that ditch it still empties into the bay, it was routinely tested every 2 weeks by the health department and found to have too much bacteria for anybody to play in the water, get in the water, or mess with the water. We're talking about the foot of St. Joe Bay, and we're talking about the entire Gulf of Mexico. Since the ditch has been installed, I got to say I have not seen that report highlighting that, so it may be working. It's moving the water off faster. All right. Again, a significant piece of infrastructure with this board. Some of you weren't here, but this board approved and did based on need for $1.2 million. Some engineering, some procurement, and $229,000 bid to install the culvert and to install the pipe and to install the storm drain. Suffice it to say that we all agree now it doesn't work as it appears you intended it to do, and it is not functioning properly. For whatever reason, its failures need to be adjusted.
Get a motion?
So
I'll grant my motion.
Mr. Mike Daniel, continue, Mr. Tom.
Thank you. My strategy to start out complimentary must have been helpful. Now, it does not work. This issue has been brought up many times over the last 4.5 years since the system was installed. The issue was brought to you most lately in August of 2013 by residents concerned with the flooding. At which point, these are facts, I just want to state facts, at which point 4 of you said, I know nothing about it. I'm sorry, 3 of you said, I know nothing about it, I wasn't here. 1 of you said, I voted against it, and it was passed to the newest commissioner, the District 3 commissioner, who everybody's very happy with her performance, by the way, passed to her to resolve the issue, to study it, and to find out what the problems were. She has done so. The public perception is with a great deal of harassment and a great deal of abuse from the 4 male members. That's life. But that's the perception. Anyway, she brought it to your attention. Over 2 meetings, she attempted to clarify some of the issues and to get the issues sent to her rapidly, sent to her fast. As we all know, there was a problem with that issue. Mr. Butler was overworked, and it was a Labor Day weekend. So there was some problems that you guys had to resolve. Last meeting, Commissioner Bryant brought her findings to this commission and laid them in the table in an info packet for all of you to look at. I had hoped that all of you would look at the facts that are disclosed in there, not necessarily the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but the facts were irrefutable. And it was decided not to put it in the information package by a 4-to-1 vote, and there was no public discussion by the 5 of you over what's this mean, where are we going, and how does it work, and what are we going to do to solve this problem with the order of magnitude of study that went up in the Overstreet area, a new part of her district, by the way. So the facts that Commissioner Bryan brought to light for public discussion, fact-finding, and solutions, despite the board's efforts not to discuss them, clearly require this board to collectively deal with them. I think, however, you've avoided your responsibility and at last meeting voted it down. Clearly, this ditch does not perform as expected or designed. It doesn't even stay in the ground. By the way, it was intended to run underground. It doesn't stay in the ground. It causes flooding, and some property is more flooded than others because it doesn't even spread out as much as it used to. How much of a problem has it been? It was contracted to be installed, installation only, for $329,000. The final price paid was approximately $345,000 at the end of the construction process. Since it was constructed and completed in 2008 through now, well, let's go to August when the complaint was made, August of 2013, you can do the math, it's approximately 50 months. During that 50-month period, there have been 130 repairs by the county Public Works Department, 130 over 50 months, which averages about 3 per month. And the expense to do it. The expense is estimated somewhere between $40,000 to $45,000, and I've included in that figure the 20 remaining items, repairs out there that are flagged and waiting to be done. It ain't working like it's supposed to. $1.2 million. This is the future. There's going to be many of these constructed by this board over time. Look at Overstreet, look at others. You got to find out how to do it and do it right. I'm not criticizing anybody. First one you ever did. Now, and this is bigger than cutting a ditch and letting the water run off in it. This is a serious problem. I would like to see at this point that you charge the engineers who work for you, who designed the project, got it permitted with DEP, got it permitted with the Corps of Engineers. It dumps water into the Gulf of Mexico, into St. Joe Bay, and it was all permitted. It was there. You need to get them, I think, to look at it and come back and publicly tell you why it ain't working like it's supposed to. We got ambitious in our design. Construction was bad. Maybe it is the best we can do, and we just have to continue to repair it. You got to start budgeting about $60 grand a year to keep it working. Again, I don't know the solution, but you haven't asked the engineer to come to this podium yet, do a study, and come to this podium and tell you what's wrong with it, which I think is the first process that I'd like, as a resident and a taxpayer, I'd like to see done. Secondly, this is a sensitive subject, and so I don't want to overbeat it. But her gathering of the facts illustrate to me, and I hope to you, that clearly there was something wrong in the bid process. For whatever reason, I'll leave that to you to find out or to discuss. These are the bidders. These are the individuals who bid this project. There were 11 of them. You can take a look at the cost that is outlined out there. The contract was awarded to the lowest bidder, who's also local. That's good. Final cost $34,000. Repairs since to date somewhere between $40,000 and $45,000. You see all the other contractors on there who bid, many of them in the price range there. Now, I'm not making an accusation. Again, I'm stating a fact as I read it. The bid process that we used clearly violated the Florida statute 287-133, subparagraph 3. It violated that process. How did it violate it? Okay, and by the way, it was told in here that all bidders had to comply with the Florida statute, obviously.
I get a motion, one more time.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I got a motion by Mr. Yeager, I need a second. I got a second by Mr. Mike Daniel. Continue, Mr. Tom.
Again, I make no accusations, I just want to state the facts, and I would like them looked into by this board to see what the problem is. First of all, under that paragraph, every contractor who works on a road bond issue or adjacent to a road or a road that affects a road, a part of Americus Avenue ditch project was to stop damage to the road because it was undermining the road. The ponds were. Okay? One of the first things is the DOT policy requires that any bidder or any contractor who's awarded a contract that work in this area on this subject must be DOT certified. No options, must be. This contractor was not DOT certified. DOT furnished a letter to Commissioner Bryant that simply said that. Our records do not show that the company, Diversified Incorporated, was pre-qualified to perform bridge construction work estimated over 250, member 329. Pre-qualification is not required for jobs under 250. This was a $329,000 job. It clearly states he was not certified to do so, was awarded the bid. In a bid process, according to this statute, the normal way it is done is the bids are open publicly. I remember Mr. McFarland, at the county attorney at that time, sitting there opening the bids, reading the contractor's name, and telling you the price. That's what happens publicly. It is then handed to a bid review board. not you, a bid review board who examines the technical issues. In the interest of fair competition from all bidders and the Florida law, the first thing you go through and look for, bid bond, yes, no. Qualified to do the work, yes, no. Okay, performance bond available, yes, no. Okay, workman's comp there and proper insurance, yes, no. Every one of those regarding to this low bidder was a no. Every one of those things I just stated is proven, is shown by the documents to have been a no. Could be worked out. But again, the bidder was clearly unqualified. If I'm one of the other 10 bidders there, I'm surprised they didn't sue you back then, or there wasn't a lawsuit about the violations. But those are the facts as they're listed. Now, Mr. Butler very clearly explained to everybody that the bid was awarded by and was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. I'm sure it was. I don't remember being here for that process. But I don't remember any analysis from the bid review committee that laid out this process. And according to the statute, the guy who got the bid, this outfit that got the bid, should have been eliminated on the first go-through, checking does he meet the Florida statute. Should have been set aside, rejected, and you go with the other 10. That's what it's, I don't know how this process worked inside. That's up to you guys to determine. But the process, the ditch doesn't work. Let me rephrase that. The stormwater system doesn't work. Why? No one's told me, and I've not heard it expressed to you publicly why it doesn't work. The engineer needs to be involved in this. There's something wrong with our bid process, and if we're going to go forward with these things, you need to look into this bid process and find it. You have just started a new bid policy. I'm not sure where it goes. I hope that two things can come of this. One, you'll take a serious look at this project. Again, $1.2 million, and it's the beginning of the future. 5 years from now, if building continues in Overstreet, you're going to be looking at another one. Okay? 5 years from now, if the building along C30 continues, you're going to be looking at another one to do. Again, the city of St. Joe copes with this daily, adding stormwater runoff plans, ditches, sewers, et cetera, constantly. It's the future in Gulf County if we expect it to grow. I would hope that the Board of County Commissioners that I supported and the commissioner that I elected, who won the seat by a huge volume, by a significant majority, and you just have to deal with the perception you create in the county when you abuse and harass her. Cheer up. These are observations, not accusations. Anyway, I would like to see this board investigate these issues, check into them, find out what happened, find out why it happened, and it's all available to you to do. The bid review committee, I don't know who they were there for you to call. The contractor is there to call, and your engineer firm, who is the county engineer, is available to assess this thing and do exactly the same thing the Public Works Department did up there in Overstreet and tell you what the problems are, what the fixes are, and how much it's going to cost. And we get on with doing this and get this area and the scab that this has apparently created picked and get it off the agenda. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to be watching future meetings. 2 weeks from now, I expect to see Mr. Risch up here, or any engineer from Preble Risch, they're all okay with me, up here being charged by you guys to go study this thing and given a date to come back and tell you his answers as to what the problem is. And then you can do whatever you want to do to look into this investigation. You can turn it over to the sheriff. You can just do it yourself and ask. But something was wrong with our bid process at this time. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. And
Mr. Tom.
Sir.
Okay. I went out and spoke to some of the peoples on Americas. I didn't talk to everyone on Americas. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I went to Hall.
I haven't either.
But the one or two that I spoke to, they said, Ann, it ain't perfect, but it's 100% better than what we had.
Oh yes.
Now
Absolutely.
this process that this bid that we're talking about, how long this been ago?
2007.
2007.
7 and 8.
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with the project, but I'm trying to figure out why it took to 2013 to make such a big fuss about it. I mean, if we know it wasn't did right today, we know it wasn't did right then when they was doing the job.
I'll give you two answers that I think is the reason. Number one, we have a new commissioner and people are taking their issues to the new commissioner, didn't take to the previous one. The new commissioner got the job 10 months ago, And there are two issues you're seeing here. One is Overstreet was never in District 3 until this previous election. Okay, so they have a new commissioner, and possibly they're trying to see what the new commissioner can do for them because they were unhappy with I don't know. The second issue is we just finished probably, and I know this from my small business operation, we just finished a 100-year rain event. Okay, and maybe the engineer will come back and say, it'll work except every 100 years. Okay, that you guys got to figure that out if that's fair. But we just finished a 100-year rain event when all these things are there. You know, remember July and August? Excuse me. Remember July and August? 25 inches of rain in 40 days? That's going to create a problem everywhere. And so I think those are the two reasons, if you ask me, those are the two reasons that this thing has been brought up so much since August.
Okay,
and let me ask you.
And I don't have no problem looking into it, and I've been looking into it in panel, but I'm just trying to figure out if the fuss that you guys is making now, if you'd have come to that podium, I don't care who commissioner was sitting up here.
Understand.
Somebody was going to listen.
I understand.
And that's all I'm trying to figure out. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, but I'm just trying to figure out all of a sudden,
I think there's two
hold
issues.
Hold on for a minute. The board that was sitting here that passed this, you guys knew it wasn't working then. No one come to that podium and made the fuss the way you making it today.
Understand. I accept that, and I would tell you the only reason I am is because Commissioner Bryant looked into this and came up with these issues as to why it might not be working as it should, and this huge rain event we just had caused great concerns for me professionally and for all of the residents out there. Now, let me be very clear about something. This thing has improved the situation as it is now. Made huge improvements to the area. It was the right thing to do at $1.2 million when it was done. It was a priority project, and it was executed. Just like you're looking at Overstreet right now going, how do we fix this problem? Because it's only going to get worse. It was looked at then. You were dealing with 1.5 miles of cesspools. That's what was down that road if you ever went down it. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of property with no access and no ability to develop it, you know, in quarter-acre and third-acre slices all the way down that road. It became a cesspool. It never went away. It sat there all year long. It was housing alligators and every kind of critter you can possibly imagine actively there. The houses on the hill, on the high ground on both sides, were serviced by septic tanks. Now the city has put in a sewer system. The septic tank runoff, that's the way it works, by the way. They go into a drain field and they sit in your yard and they percolate into the ground. That's the way septic tanks work. A rainstorm washed all the septic tank runoff down into this pond, along with the doggy doo-doo, the bird doo-doo, the cat doo-doo, and everything else that sat up on this high ground. They turned into a cesspool. They were polluted. They were unhealthy. The health department did examination, found a bacteria problem, and when it ran out into past Atlantic Avenue and ran out into the Gulf, into the bay, it polluted it. I mean, it measured. Health department went down there and assessed the bacteria levels, said it was unsafe for swimming. It appeared in the News Herald and the Star every 2 weeks, the result. That has stopped, apparently. I haven't seen any notice about the pollution or the bacteria since the ditch was finished, since the project was finished. So it started off, huge project. It is 100% better than it was before, but it's going to be costing us $60,000 to $70,000 a year to keep it working, or to keep it in the ground, or to keep it from where it's going, and that's what needs to be looked into.
So you do admit that it is 100% better than what it was? You just said that.
Oh yeah, I would even say,
okay.
I would not even say, you know, I'd say 85%, 95%. It is much, much, much better. It was a good project, and when it was undertaken by this board 4 years ago, it was based on an excellent assessment, and they were assured by the engineers it would work and they could design it appropriately. DEP signed off on it, saying it's going to clean up the cesspools, it's going to clean up the beach. Engineers looked at it and said it's going to improve the road. It was the right thing to do at $1.2 million 4 or 5 years ago. No doubt about it. Okay. The problem is how to keep it working right. Why isn't it quite right? Why is it costing more money?
Mike Daniels.
The same question, by the way, I'd ask, if this county someday wants to build a bridge or an overpass or a 4-lane road or whichever they do, okay, that's infrastructure. This is infrastructure. You built it, you committed to maintain it, you committed to make it work, and that's where we're at, is why it ain't working, how we're going to get the problem solved, and let's look at the issues. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Graney, Again, thank you for coming. I make a lot of notes in these meetings. A lot of what you said today are facts. A lot of it was your opinion, and I respect your opinion. Not wrong. I
offer my opinion interspersed between the facts.
True. But we haven't, no one, and again, I got blasted, well, you're just trying to pass the buck on a prior board, or a previous board that was set here before. Necessarily true. I don't know if we have contractors sitting right out here, and right to the penny, there's always some variables in there that you have to deal with, and that's it. Now the question is, we got to get out of 2007, 2008. We got to get here to 2013. You stated, and I went out there and rode that and looked. Yes, we've got some problems. What it's not brought to the attention, there were some issues that developed during that process. You know, we had some pipe that was got damaged, and then the decision. Now, had this board been sitting, would we have insured it? I don't know. What's going to happen to pipe out in an open field? We didn't know there was a fire.
I have no. I understand
that. The decision was made. Instead of replacing all the damage, we would try to use it. Well, when you start trying to piece on, you start getting into problems. So a lot of this we've learned, and we're going to go forward to it. But the ditch out there, yes, it needs some more attention, but we got to get out of this pass. I don't know if somebody wants somebody put in prison or fined. I don't know. You know, all I want to do is let's get out of this pass. Let's go ahead and wrap up and try to get this feasible. I wouldn't want it see it go back to the cattails and the snakes. I think it's a great improvement. You surely improve the property values for the landowners.
Oh, I think, and I think you're collecting property taxes on the improved value, and the building is don't misunderstand what I just said. What I'm saying, this $1.2 million project probably has net the county a significant amount of money, and it certainly makes it much more aesthetic for me when I drive down Americus Avenue on my little patrols, and I don't have to worry about the gators if I'm doing it at night.
Sure.
It was a worthwhile project. It was, and it's only, again, I say it's only the beginning. You're going to be doing more of these things because stormwater runoff and pollution is the next hottest thing in DEP. You all know this. Talk to Northwest Florida. You're going to be doing more of this as time goes on, unless you let the city annex all this stuff and let them worry about the paving and the storm sewers, which is those are the alternatives. You got to fix it as a county. Yeah. I would like this county to look like Walton County down along where St. Joe Beach is. Okay. Hundreds of million-dollar homes all lined up, bicycle paths, beach access, all those issues. If it happens after the first rainstorm, it'll all be underwater. If this thing grows, you got to either stop the growth or plan for the growth appropriately. And that's why I think that study that was done up in Overstreet showed you the problem. You can't fix this with culvert and drainage ditches. You're going to have to, if it continues to grow out there, as St. Joe Beach has grown and continues to grow, you're going to have to do something about it. Building code, strict enforcement, controlling use of impervious materials. You're going to have to tell people you got to have a gravel driveway or you got to have a cobblestone driveway or a paver driveway. You can't pour concrete. You got to let the grass go. You got to let the water get through it. Those are all issues that other communities, towns and developments have dealt with. This county has 2 cities that manage populated areas. Outside those 2 cities, you have areas just as populated with just as big a problem, and it places a burden on you to do it. I am not going to question. I am not trying to hold this board responsible for what went on before that. We're beyond that. We're interested in what's the problem, how do we fix it. When you look at this problem, you come up with a whole myriad of things that require experience, more professional work, just like you said.
Tom, and we'll move along.
I'm fine with it.
But again, we got to get away from the negative attitude. Let's go positive. I stated in prior meetings, we got a broken egg. We can't fix it, but we can possibly prevent from breaking the next egg, and that's what we got to do. We got to get positive and get out. Let's quit beating this horse to death. There's nothing we can do.
I have no issues here. I only want 2 things out of this board as it continues on. Look at the problems, just as you did up north in Overstreet. evaluate the situation, and move ahead to fix it and stop harassing my commissioner. Those are the only two issues I got.
I thought, just, thank you, Tom.
I was, you understand where I'm at with this? Yes, sir.
Only a couple of questions. You did bring, I'm for the solution. This is something that's happened 6, 7 years ago. We know there's problems there. We've admitted that. You gave us one solution today. One, the first step is to go to the engineering firm, getting them to review it. That's fine. That's something that maybe this board can look at doing, and I'd be willing with that. The other issue I have is you're so concerned about stormwater.
Sir.
Don't you have a problem with your subdivision out there right now?
Oh, yes. Gulf Air subdivision is just as much. Let me tell you something that really flabbergasts me, okay? And there's some public information that you ought to consider putting out. One is, stop paving your yards and get over that. You're just creating a problem. Here's the other one that really flabbergasts me, okay? And it's in my subdivision. It's in Seashores, and it's up and down Americus Avenue. I'm going to be out right as soon as I finish this thing. I'll be out patrolling my service area and looking at where the water's standing and looking for if it's starting to disappear real fast, where my sewer pipes are and where my stormwater collection is, and make sure it ain't going on. I did this every day in July and August while we went through this 25-inch rainfall, okay? I drive through the subdivisions out there, Gulf Air being one of them.
Yours.
Yeah, the one I live in.
That's being messed up for
And
months.
stormwater issues the same. Now, I drive through these subdivisions and I drive down St. Joe Beach. It's been pouring rain for 25 days, standing water everywhere, and at 6:15 in the morning I go by, and you know what? The sprinklers are on because they're not. The residents aren't smart enough to go out and shut off their sprinkler when we've had 25 inches of rain and their yard and their house are sinking in it, and they're running the sprinklers. Okay, and so if he's one of my customers, I knock on the door and say, "Dummy, turn your sprinkler off, will you please?" There are education issues that need to be done. I'll tell you one thing, put in a star periodically. We're projected to have 15 inches of rain. Turn your sprinklers off, will you please? Quit adding to the problem. Or the rain, or the forecast, or whatever. So there's public education issues and everything else. By the way, there was a complaint about mosquitoes when you talked to the one up, when we talked to the Overstreet issue, complaint about mosquitoes. First of all, there's a lot of mosquitoes in July in Florida. Secondly, okay, I watched the mosquito control people drive through the area I patrol watching for issues that I have to service. They were there every day, spraying ponds, spraying ditches, they were there every day. And they obviously had a route because about every third day they came by and resprayed the pond again and did their normal spray. Their work was superb. Now, bugs, I haven't had a mosquito bite all year. Bugs don't bite me.
Well, Mr. Tom.
But that's just the way it works.
Mr. Tom, if you see someone building something on a piece of property that shouldn't be built, you police it, report it to the building inspector. I guarantee you he'll get on it. But now we can't look at everybody in Gulf County.
I will also tell you I've had nothing but positive experiences with the building department, with the road department. Nothing but positive experience with all the road crews and the department's professional attitude toward who. I will go back and start calling these things on a routine basis. There's another guy clearing a lot out there in my subdivision, and he put in a 4-inch culvert across so he can get his equipment in and out of there, and put some dirt down so he can get equipment in and out of there. If that's only during construction, that's fine. If he thinks he's going to get away with that, I will have a meeting with the building department. Very professional. Mosquito control, building department, Mr. Danforth operation, Jake Lewis. I have had nothing but positive experience with them in every way, shape, or form. I've had nothing but positive experience with my commissioner, as obnoxious as she sometimes comes across. Nothing but a positive experience with her. I wish you guys would all start having positive experiences with them and start dealing with the issues as they come up as a group.
Mr. Chairman, can I say something? Tom, number one, I'm glad it was respectful criticism. Your presentation was respectful criticism of some of the things that have gone on in the past and gone on since. With that, I think, I don't specifically talk about the America's Ditch Project, because the firm that I work with actually had a part in that. But I will speak to stormwater in general. I've got the same issues that Commissioner Bryan has in her district in the Cape. We're working on 1 and 2 Palm subdivision now. And the problem is only the ad valorem taxpayer is footing the bill for this, these things with Public Works and that. I know that most counties that I have come across, and with Small County Coalition and everything else, they actually have a stormwater fee. I don't know that we want to do that, but I do think that what we do want to do is maybe get a few citizens together and some of the staff and say, how do we start addressing these problems? Now, I think moving forward, and we can talk to the building department, I think moving forward, we've got a lot of things in place on our subdivision ordinance and those type of things that's going to prevent it from continuing to happen. However, to go back and fix the problems that we do have is going to cost some, it's going to cost some money. And so I think at the end of the day, this may be something as to how do we move forward to helping stormwater. We get some of the staff together and say, hey, what are the recommendations?
I concur wholeheartedly. $1.2 million to put this system in, and thus far, $60,000 projected to keep it maintained. When you put this infrastructure in, it's got to be maintained. And if you're going to start addressing stormwater at the county level, you're going to have a revenue problem. There's no doubt about it. And one of the first things that probably jumped in everybody's mind when you saw that Overstreet thing is, we can't fix that. Not right now, because of the cost. Fully accept it. Again, I want nobody hung. Well, I might run through a list of names, but in general, I want nobody hung. I want the issues discussed openly, clearly, and I would like you to fix them. All the 3 members of the board aren't here, okay? And that would sound like a threat. So 3 members of the board aren't here. That's not what went on in the past. Is not your responsibility, except to know about it and don't do it again, and budget the money to fix it. That's your job. So, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a problem. It needs to be studied and looked at. And the reason I'm here is because the residents of District 3 and myself were outraged over the fact that Commissioner Bryant brought all this information out, laid it on the table, and no one responded, discussed it, or went forward with a comprehensive fix to it. That's the reason I'm here.
Well, I thank you for coming before us, Mr. Tom, and I thank you for everything that you brought.
Thank you for your time, and Commissioner Yeager, it's been a long time since I've seen you. I got to tell you, unless you're trying to travel incognito, it's only a minor improvement. I'd get rid of it if I were you.
Got a lot of gray in it, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Got a lot of gray in it.
Thank you.
No Shave November, American Cancer Society, cancer awareness. It'll be shaved in December.
I thought they were supposed to shave their heads for that.
No.
Oh, that would be an improvement.
Mr. Chairman, we have Ms. Pat Hardman regarding intersection and Santa.
Pat Hardman, Coastal Community Association, 123 Mariner. I get up here and fuss at you. Other people get up here and fuss at me. We ask you to do stuff, and I just wanted to say thank you this morning. Warren and I met with some folks out there on the intersection. It looks like we have saved the peel-off, which was one of the major concerns. That's going to be broadened, and that's going to stay in place.
Absolutely. Wider shoulders is going to be enhanced.
With wider shoulders, so that was a good thing. We did not get the second egress. We only got one egress being planned right now coming off of the Cape, which I consider to be dangerous. Getting out. We only got one way to get out right now. But they have left that on the table for us until they open the other one egress, and then they said they will talk to us again. So I appreciate everything that's been done to now, and I hope we'll keep that on the table and try to get that, and I will talk to the 2 state guys as well, but I think we might be able to prevail. Warren, if that's up to you.
Yeah, it's a good conversation. I think at the end of the day, what they want us to do is to let this egress that they've got designed, see if it works, see it for 2 or 3 weeks. I'll get with Pat again, and she'll get comments from the public, and that's basically who we're responding to, is a public comment that they think it may be dangerous like this. Well, they've got it about built now, and we'll see how it works. If we're satisfied, we'll be satisfied. If the public's not, then we'll try to address it again.
So I say thank you. Problems brought forward, you quit worrying about what else was going on and got to a solution, and I thank you for doing that. Now I got a more important issue. This one's really important. we got Santa Claus coming. We got a sheriff's toy drive. And we kicked this thing off last Saturday with the help of donations from people out in the Cape, South Gulf County Fire Department, Coastal Community Association, St. Joe Golf Club, raising some funds for the entire county, the kids in the county, the needy kids in the county. And the sheriff, I got to commend the sheriff's department for doing this, for making it available, handling it so well. They've done this in the past, and I really appreciate it. And we had a goal of trying to get 12 bicycles. We've got 8. We've got a bunch of toys we need to get. I challenge you as individuals and as a group to make some donations. Let us go shop for you, or you shop, and delivery points at the sheriff's office, several places downtown, South Gulf County Fire Department's doing everything we can do, Coastal Community Association doing everything we can do. We've got a lot of children that I don't want to wake up on Christmas morning and not have Santa Claus come to them. If you want to make a donation as a group, I'll go get some more bicycles. If you want to make a donation individually, I'll go shop. You tell me you want to. I'll tell you one of the big things that went out last year, rod and reels for kids. How neat is that to give a kid a rod and reel in this county? So think about it, put it forward, promote it for us. Let's get the sheriff every toy he needs for the children. And thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Dr. Hardman.
Thanks for doing that. Also, I've spoken with the city of Weewa, Don Minshew, and the search and rescue is doing the very similar things. They supply for about 100 kids up there, so there's an awful lot of community involvement with that, and so we appreciate what you do. And we used to be able to give, I think we all try to give individually, and I think that's probably what we'll have to do. We used to have some funds that we could do that with, but everything's so tight, we just can't do that no more, but individually we can help. Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, I just to follow up on what Colonel Graney said, and thank you for coming forward and expressing your opinions. Regarding the issues with the ditch that are currently happening now, my position is that the county should not just have to repair that ditch, put money aside and repair it. The county paid for the ditch, and they paid for that work to be inspected as it was being constructed. And I have met with Mr. Risch from Preble Risch and have asked him to work with Mr. Butler to come up with some type of a proposed plan on how we can resolve the issues with the ditch. And the issues are that the pipes were not joined together properly, so they have opened, and the water is pouring out along the ditch and it is eroding the ground, resulting in sinkholes, which many of the residents are concerned about the safety of the children in the area with these holes developing. And also that the pipe is, as many of us have seen, is coming up out of the ground, and that is an issue. So not only do those problems that have resulted have to be addressed, but it needs to be addressed that it doesn't continue to happen, because for years we could be dealing with these holes. So I just wanted to follow up with that. I do not believe that it's an expense that should be borne by the taxpayers of this county. And that is the reason that you have to look back into the process of who is responsible. It's not just about digging up from years ago. It's an ongoing issue. The other question that I have is for Mr. Novak regarding the action that this board took at the last meeting and in altering and destroying public record, removing public record. And my understanding is that it is illegal to remove or destroy a public record. When you have a communication from the county to the public, that's about county business. It is a public record. And I wanted to ask your opinion on the action that this board took at the last meeting.
I'd be happy to look into it. I don't have a response. I do have a recommendation, though, with regards to pulling pages. the public record or correspondence between the commission and the public, I think, is public record, and any of the commissioners want to admit that, you should be free to do that. When you start, obviously, as you mentioned, commentary or summaries or doctoring, I think is the word you used, that should be something that's looked at, and I'd be happy to go back and look at a public record that has been altered and turned in. With regards to past correspondence, I think that is part of the public record. I think Ms. Summers and Ms. Norris have that as part of the custodian of records, so that's available to all of you and it's available to all the public. If you put it in the information packet, be circulated out to the community. But I'd be happy to look into the legal issue of additional comments added to public records as to who the author is, where they come from, what is the commentary.
Well, and that really isn't my question as far as taking a document and writing notes on it and putting it into the information packet, because anyone can write a letter or a memo and put it into the information packet. What I'm talking about is once it has been disseminated to the public, going back after the fact and attempting to remove pages from that public record. So you are actually destroying a portion of the public record, which is the information packet that was already dispersed to the public.
Again, I'll look into the legal merits of it. I don't think the commission destroyed any public record. I think that was circulated to the community. I think it's still part of the public record with the clerk's office. I think with regards to including it in your information packet, I can look into the legal merits of withdrawing something that's in there that if there's ownership or, authorship of all those comments and everything in there, and if one of the commission offer a comment and they take ownership of it, I don't think there is an issue. I think looking into the legal merits of what is on these public records. The clerk receives a document, that's a public record. Any of you commissioners, any of the staff, beyond that, after it gets in, there's work product on there. The issue of work product on a public record is another step, and that's something that obviously needs to be looked at if you want to.
And a cover letter, a cover letter with whatever is submitted clearly takes ownership of the documents that are submitted with the cover letter.
Yeah, I don't
so
know that.
What I'm getting from you, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that the vote that was taken at the last meeting really had no effect because you would not go back and remove those pages after they were already dispersed in the information.
The information that's in there, those public records are public record.
Right, they were public record before
Prior
they went
to that.
into the information packet.
You as a commissioner turn something into the clerk's office, you admit that as an elected official, that is a public record.
Right.
So your
Okay.
correspondence is that. The action taken by this board to remove something, like I said, I'll be happy to go back and revisit that.
One thing that, Mr. Chairman, and that may clear this up is I don't know that we have a policy on what goes in the information pack. I don't know, is there a policy specifically that and that's something that maybe you can work on is a policy of what goes in the information pack, because some of the stuff in there is good information for the public. Some of it's, I don't know how it got in there, but we might ought to establish a policy. I don't know.
Well, and if we do have policy for the information packet, I think we also need a policy for individuals coming to the podium and submitting information into the record, which at this point in time, anyone can submit anything into the record, even if it's a very private communication between two individuals in the community that are not part of the government. So they are not subject to sunshine, but folks can come in and turn in anything, photographs, anything they want. So
And that's something that should be in the policy.
If I can touch on that, commissioners, we've had that discussion. I've had private discussions with each of the commissioners over the last year or two about documents that turned in. There's nothing to restrict a member of this community from turning something into this commission or the county. They send something in with a transmittal letter. That is solely up to them. That is a civil matter if there is any kind of liability that's associated with it. To restrict the public from turning something in, now once it becomes a county issue, you all as elected officials or staff that circulate things, that is a public record. But to keep a filter or a restriction on what comes into the county, Ms. Summers and Ms. Norris receive things on a daily basis. And there's nothing there by law that's going to restrict that from being stamped in, punched in, and turned in. That's correspondence from the community. Now, with regards to the information packet, that is a policy you all can establish. You all can take those procedures, you establish a policy, and then going forward, you instruct the staff of what's to be put in there. And as to the last meeting, if the commissioner has something she wants to put in public record, and you said there's a transmittal letter, and it offers commentary as to the actual notes, You know, it may be something you guys touch on the policy, that if a commissioner has individual comments, that they can offer that in addition to whatever the public record they turn in. But, you know, Commissioner Yeager, a policy is not out of the order, and I think it'd be highly appropriate to address in the future. This issue continually comes up.
I don't think that a county commissioner should have more restrictions than the public as far as entering information into the record. If a commissioner has to go to the podium to enter things into the record, then I guess that would be the case. But that seems like a little bit of a waste of time. That's all I have.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I got an issue that I want to kind of get out and poll the board a little bit. I've talked this issue around with Mr. Butler and Ms. Jenkins. It's my understanding that Mr. Sellers with EDA has resigned. Can anybody positively say that?
That's the email I got, said he resigned.
Mr. Michael Moore, he come by the show.
And he did resign.
He did resign. Can I speak to that? I actually met with Gary Madison, and I spoke with Neil Wade. I think what the EDA is looking at now is kind of working with the Bay County EDA and the Gulf EDA, and what helps Bay County helps Gulf. What helps Gulf helps Bay. And Gary's he couldn't be here today, but that's I think the direction that they're going to go now is to get Neil Wade involved down here. And Neil's, as everybody knows, I mean, he was the economic development guy for Alabama when they got all those jobs up in Alabama. He's very well capable. He's willing to talk to his board to see if that works for them, and I think it will at the end of the day. He's supposed to call me this week and talk to me a little bit more about it, but then he's got to go to Germany on Saturday. But it's something we don't need to let a whole lot of time go by as we move forward, and I think Gary's got I'm glad he mentioned it because I had already talked to Neil, and he's talked to Neil, and I'm glad they're working in that direction. What I do think is we need a point of contact with Neil and because Barry's gone now, and they need a specific point of contact. And our economic development in the community right now is with Jennifer Jenkins, and I would like just for her to be the point of contact. If we do work this thing out for the time being, to work with the EDA, because we got good board members that are there. Let's work with the EDA and let Jennifer be the point of contact for that EDA on the county side until, 6 months from now, we may readdress it. They may want to hire somebody else. The EDA may want to hire somebody else. We may have to readdress it, but for the time being, if we could let Jennifer be the point of contact. I've spoken with Jennifer about this, and she says, yeah, I don't want to get bored. She's willing and wanting to do it, actually. So I think if the board would allow us to do that, if we can let Jennifer be that point of contact while this transition period's happening, and like I said, 6 months from now we may have to address it again.
I really feel strong about it. I think it'd be a good move for us. She's willing to work. She'll go after it. I would, do we need to put that into a motion or
I think we
bring
should.
it to a vote?
I think we should.
So move to make Ms. Jenkins the point of contact.
Got a motion by Mr. Michael Moore.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Yeager. Do I have any opposed? Do I have any opposed? No opposed? Motion carries.
And let's move kind of slow with this issue. This is something I just don't want to jump out 100% on, but you might not like it, so let's just move slowly with it.
I think it's a good direction.
That's all I have.
Yeager.
Well, one thing we've already covered. We've already covered both of them. Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything today.
Good deal. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a follow-up to Commissioner Yeager concerning the EDA. Mr. Sellers called me last week and thanked me and the board members for letting him serve, and due to a health issue, he was going to have to just go back to his home in Arkansas. But I spoke also with Gary Magnuson, and I asked him to keep the board intact. He has a very good, the EDA board, in my opinion. You have a professional educator on it, a banker on it, contractors on it, business people, a good cross-section. So I think it's good a board you could have represent the EDA. Now, having said that, I asked him to go out and let's solicit, and I think we're a little county of 13,000 walk-in. show 16 because 3,000 are incarcerated north end of the county. But we don't have the actual money to support a large economic development alliance here we have. Prime example, Jackson County, Mr. Stratton up there, he very knowledgeable man. He's really helped Jackson County, but he helps Washington County and Holmes County. Occasionally step over to Gadsden, and he's even went as far as Walton, because some things that he could not land directly or Jackson landed them neighboring counties, and it really helped Jackson County. So sometimes indirectly is just as good as directly on this. But Mr. Magnuson assured me he would go out. I said, go out to business people. When they see that, when the St. Joe Company sold here the other day, or in the process of selling, they didn't keep Windmark, the paper mill site, and 5,000 acres along the the canal here just for the fun of it. They have a purpose behind it. These are business people. And if we can get, go over and I don't know if he's in there or not, I don't know, but get Mr. DeCernio to buy into it. Get some business people to buy into us. Get the St. Joe Company, Mr. George Gonzalez, I spoke with him here a couple of 3 weeks ago on this. Get some people, some good business people to buy into this thing, and I think we're going to really see it go to moving now. I honestly do. And but anyway, that's our future canal, and by going in with Bay County, with Mr. Wade's experience, there's no way but it'd have to be positive for us, for this county, and we'll start growing. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, just wish everybody a good, happy holiday and a good Thanksgiving. And
Mr. Chairman,
safe Thanksgiving. That's it for me.
I mentioned one other thing. I think in dealing with the EDA and the port and all that, we've had conversation about the EDA helping the port and the county. And cities kicked in a little bit of money. I spoke to Gary on that too. Gary said that they had allotted them $4,500. It'll get them through May, and that they will address it again in May, need being. So I think that issue has been worked out with the port and their money problems, and so I appreciate the EDA. 4,500 is what they said would get them through May on the insurances, and I think in May they'll have to be addressed again. So.
Okay, but now that's not Mr. Sellers' money now, is it?
Well, the money that we appropriated to the EDA is going to use a portion of that to help the port just with the insurance cost and with Ports Council dues.
Okay, here's what we need to look at, gentlemen. Now, we allotted $80,000, I think it was, to Mr. Sellers. Mr. Sellers, unfortunately, he didn't fulfill his contract or whatever. Forget that. But there's still some remaining monies for his salary that's sitting into that pot. I don't want the EDA to go out and spend that money. Now, does this board need to pull that money back, or what do we need to do? You just told me that he just spent $4,500 now getting it to the port.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, can I comment on that? Yeah. Commissioner McLemore, the county has a contract with the Economic Development Alliance as a group, not-for-profit entity. So whether Mr. Sellers is employed by him or not, the county still has a contract with that EDA. The county has certain performance obligations, as does the EDA. So in terms of pulling it back, regardless of their staffing, the county still has a contractual obligation to that group.
And I think we need to give Jennifer and Neil, because obviously Neil and the EDA over there is not going to come over here for free. And I think that's something to negotiate with the EDA. And so that money's, will be there available for them to negotiate with Mr. Wade, and let's get moving forward. And we can always review it.
But it won't be if we give him $4,500 here and $50,000.
Well, in my opinion, though, the port is the most important thing that we've got going for economic development. So I think it's appropriate to use that money to help get the Port Authority through that process to get the port going. And once they get the port going, they're not going to need it.
I understand you. I hear you loud and clear. I've sat here for 15 years dealing with this port issue. We poured something like the community and the taxpayers with over $17 million into this operation. So far, we have zero.
I'm more encouraged now than I've ever been, though.
Okay, but We just give them $200,000 last year. You know, we can't keep throwing money into a bucket and not getting a return. I'm not saying not support them. Let's be very cautious with this. And if we've got monies that's left over for Mr. Sellers' funds or whatever, that's not free range to go and spend that money. If it is, I'm going to try to get me 3 votes right here today to pull that money back.
No, I think it's appropriate to leave that money there, to let the EDA work with it. I think they're going in the right direction. I think the port's going in the right direction. I'm more encouraged today than I've ever been, and part of that reason is because St. Joe Company has come to the table. And so I'm just give it a little bit more time.
Now, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McLemore, were you referring to money in the 13-14? I mean, in the 12-13, or you know, we're in a new budget now. We committed another $80,000 in this budget. Are you saying that any that was left in last year's budget?
I'm referring to the money that was Mr. Sellers' salary that this board approved to pay him, and we have paid him so much already, $20,000. So there should be an additional $60,000 somewhere. Well,
what we do is give it to them by the quarter, and that's how the clerk releases that money. And I think at the end of the day, let's give this plan time to work through the process, and I think you'll be satisfied at the end of the day. There's a good board there, and Jennifer will be involved. Neil Wade's going to be involved. So just give it a little time. It'll
work itself.
I believe it'll work.
Mr. Chairman, before I know you have some comments. I just wanted to ask Commissioner Ayer, do you want to speak to anything on the secluded dunes to follow up on the correspondence you've received?
Yeah, I probably should. We had an issue at secluded dunes that back in February there was a variance that was given that actually some of the folks out there didn't feel like they got enough notice. And the way we generally do this, and David may want to speak to it, is just give the adjoining property owners notice. The folks that are wanting the variance pays for that. But, you know, there are probably some things that we can do. We did everything by the book, but at the end of the day, it might have been better had we included more folks in the notice. The person that's asking for the variance has to pay for those notices anyway. So that'd be maybe something that the new PDRB board wants to work with. We were fortunate. Jeremy got involved with the folks that received the variance. They actually are going to modify their development, their house that they're building, and they're not going to need the variance. So it all worked out, and we followed policy as we always had it. But it may be something that we need to address the policy on to give more people an opportunity to know the variance process that's going on. And Jeremy got very involved with that, so I appreciate his involvement.
And just for the folks, I think you've gotten over 25 letters or correspondence, Commissioner. So for the folks that are out there that are watching the meeting or will watch the meeting, just let them know the issue is not entirely resolved, but it's working itself to a resolution. So we appreciate their patience because they've all written you and written the county over and the planner as well. So hopefully we'll have that resolved. I know Mr. Chairman Scott also had from staff a comment for you as well, or a request.
Yes, I'm here for emergency management. We just discovered we put this RFP out for an emergency notification system, and it's due this coming Monday. We're realizing some of the offices are going to be closed Thursday and Friday, and we're not sure that's enough time for the companies to get back. And so we're wondering if we could amend that for another week to give the companies a chance to submit their RFPs, if we can get the ads and everything in the paper that needs to be done.
Motion to amend.
Motion by Mr. Mike Daniels. Second by Mr. Yeager. Do I have any opposed? Do we have any opposed? No opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I got one other thing before you close. Mr. Collinsworth, you gave the final test to the building on the roof?
Please come to the podium.
Uh-oh. He don't like it. Thought I was going to let him slide, but
You never do. We did have a fire truck last week, I guess whenever y'all was gone to Daytona or wherever it was at. Everything looked good. We're going to check it as soon as this meeting's over. We had to go to Overstreet earlier this morning to check on the ditch, which is working great, it looks like. But we'll follow back up. There's been a lot of rain, so if anything's gonna show it or show.
But the bottom line, you have not signed off on it.
I did. I did last week.
Oh,
after
you
we
did?
done the test because we
Okay,
put ample
okay.
water on it.
All right, on the
But,
second test.
This
on
is the second test with actual
Third
rain.
one today.
Yeah, I
This is
just
natural
want
test.
to check today because
Okay.
every piece of that building will have water on it today.
Sure.
We had a lot of water put on it, but we'll check it as soon as the meeting's over.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Mr. Clay, could you come give me an update on the projects that's going on in my district? So just give the public a.
Clay Small with Purple Wrist. USDA has we received bids, city received bids on the water line project and the sidewalk project in Northport, St. Joe. The project's been awarded. USDA has to put one final check beside it before we can get a pre-construction meeting and actually break ground. And they have all the documents, so we're waiting on them to say, put their final check and say, here's your pre-construction meeting and go for it. So it's moving towards starting construction. It's been a long time coming, but we're close.
So,
While we got you up here, what about my projects? Land's Landing project, where we at?
Let me finish my project
Oh, I
first.
thought you was through. I'm sorry.
I don't want to take them to the, so we don't have no definite date on that?
Not a start date yet, no, sir, but we're working towards getting that. USDA cuts us loose finally. We'll have one pretty quick. Contractor's ready to go. City's ready to go. Everybody's ready to go. Just waiting on them.
I'd like to ask you about the Land's Landing project with the permitting system. I know that's where we were at the last.
That's it. The Army Corps, I'm expecting the permit any day. That's the last permit we need. And then we can put that out to bid. That's the last thing we're waiting on.
Okay, can you give me a little information on the Falls Creek boat landing down there, where we at with that? Maybe this is something I should ask Tawan with that.
I think Ms. Kopinski probably, the last I'd heard, the state, I think, had awarded it to the county, and
Right.
and they, she was waiting on a contract or something from the county, and so I really don't know the latest on that other than I thought it was awarded. She had told me it was awarded, but where the paperwork is, I don't know. So we
Okay.
hadn't really started anything on that project in terms of design or anything.
Hey, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do we have anything else from the board? Do we have anything from the audience? Do we have anything from the audience? Before we close out our meeting, I just want to tell everybody in the audience and by the sound of this television, have a happy Thanksgiving, safe holidays. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Got a motion by
Second.
Mr. Mike Daniels, second by Mr. Michael Moore.